So I've been thinking about our conversations in our class, and one of the ideas we haven't really touched on is the ethics of all this material and how it comes into play. So I formulated a little thought process and lecture for you guys to kind of consider some new things that are going to happen in the law and how they're going to change our lives down the road. We're going to be looking at some major differences. One of the things that we're going to look at is how big data and the big brother idea is really changing our lives. Just for instance, there's some text out there and some interesting conversations about the National Security Agency that in the last few years, let's say decade, there's been 1.7 billion emails, phone calls, SMS messages captured. They have over supposedly 20 trillion transactions since September 11th. This is an ethical issue, not just a security issue for you and I of our breach of material. Who knows what they have? Credit cards. Maybe they have preferences we don't want our employer to know. Health data. Think about how we can be denied for insurance policies if something got out that we were tracking on our Apple phone and health app, the amount of weight gain we had. For instance, I use an app that every day I record my food intake to see how much sugar and different things I'm eating and fats and cholesterols. If that data is captured, someone in the healthcare industry, which we're going to talk about data brokers in a minute, could actually utilize that material against me and say that I have a high probability of a heart attack or high cholesterol because my fat intake is too high. So Big Brother and big data is a big thing in our lives today. Everybody out there has played Angry Birds. I like to call it Angry Parents if they were actually smart to know what Angry Birds is all about. 1.7 billion free downloads have been recorded. I'm sure it's even higher since I started this lecture. What they were looking at in this is that TOS agreement that your kids or you didn't read. And that's that terms of service idea. We're going to talk more about it in a minute. One of the things in that agreement is they can capture your location off your smartphone. They can siphon whatever data is incoming or out on your phone. They can look at your listed phone calls, your Rolodex, and if your Rolodex has your friends, your neighbors, your kids, your emails, your accounts, your Facebook passwords, anything in there, they can grab. Say you're on one of the online dating sites that you're just thinking about maybe talking to somebody, and your conversations can be grabbed. They can report to your friends or your neighbors a sexual preference or something that could be deemed inappropriate, even though to you it's not. Maybe the fact is you're looking to find a new relationship, or maybe you were foolish in talking with your friends about some website and you're married. Now this data could be captured and used against you in the court of law on a divorce. Very interesting how Angry Birds can change our lives. Is this ethically correct? Should they be able to capture this data? Is just a simple idea of everybody nowadays so immune to these TOSs, is this a problem? Should we be able to understand, hey, I just clicked, I didn't read it, this is crazy. Should there be a clause in there? Is the laws going to change to stop this reframing of these ideas that are happening in gaming things where children are involved? Think about how that information can be captured and changed. The terms of service agreements today are a really big loophole in the law and security, and they're also helping other companies that are claiming that they are out for your interest. Amazon, Google, we've all heard them make claims that we provide all the information and we don't do these monitoring things. Well, little known facts are things like the Asium company out there, which captured, mind you, over 50 trillion data transactions on 23,000 computer servers they utilize. They have over 700 million consumers they constantly watch and monitor. They've labeled on most of these consumers 1,500 traits, and they use them such as race, gender, phone, car, education, portfolios. Can you imagine? Wouldn't this lead to insider trading if they are capturing information from somebody who actually does trading? How can this change our financial districts? Is this ethical? Just because someone might have used Angry Birds or one of these other gaming devices or been to GameStop and downloaded their free app. Gosh, it's a really interesting dilemma, isn't it? Companies such as Amazon and others are using this data warehouse corporations to where they are marketing this data to them and selling bits and pieces for what they're looking for. Think about it on the aspect of health alone. If you're using these apps to help you in the gym or this and that, can they track to see how much you're actually doing? My phone tracks how much I'm walking. I use it all the time to see how far I hike every morning, how far the elevation was in difference from when I started and when I stopped. What if they see a dip in this and they can say I quit exercising, I'm not as healthy as what I am, and my insurance cancels me and I have a heart attack the next day? That is a security issue. That is an ethical issue. Companies such as Blue Cross Blue Shield, who may or may not be buying from these large data houses, may be able to claim as which they are all saying we are ethical because they're not doing the spying and the siphoning from your mobile devices or your computer or wherever you have this. It's a third party. That's a gray area. We don't know what their practices are. They say they're legal. We're just buying information from them. So the world has really changed because of these data brokers. It is a data broker world. There's an interesting case where OfficeMax had bought algorithm material looking for ways to market to potential consumers. One of the consumers was Mikey Siri. The man was a really nice man. He had a daughter, 17-year-old daughter. Well, he received a mailing one day in the mail from OfficeMax, and lo and behold, it was looking for information he wanted and purchases he wanted to make. It was terrific. Apparently, the algorithm had captured this idea, and they sent out an old-fashioned mailing list. Here's our specials you might be interested in. There was a problem. The poor man's daughter was killed in 2014. Her and her boyfriend were killed in an accidental car crash. The algorithm, which had a mailer on there and a flyer that came to the home, had a statement underneath the address in the man's name as one of the data facts that was published. It said in the profile on the flyer, daughter dead. How would you feel? How did they manage to allow this to happen? If OfficeMax is just printing this material and sending it out without looking at it, what else have they done that nobody noticed? Is this a case for libel, defamation of character in some way? Think about the mental strain the man might have suffered, or is continuing to suffer every time he goes to the mailbox. What is going to come next? What attack? What roaming email is going to hit my box? What am I going to see next with this torture? Is this ethical? Should companies be taking this data? Should they be utilizing it from these third-party associations that are working in this gray area of the law? TOSs are an interesting piece. Carnegie Mellon just recently put out a study, and it found there's over 1,462 privacy policies issued to each individual every single year. The average length in one of the policies, when they did a frequency count, was 2,518 words. They figured it would take the average person 76 days every year to read all of the TOS statements. Do you have 76 days and 24 hours in a day, mind you, to read these policies? Is that correct? Is that ethical? They should make them this long that they're not even doable? Think about places like GameStation, where these kids and your children maybe are all downloading their apps and getting their material. One of the TOS statements in that I found interesting is that by clicking on this, you grant us a non-transferable option to claim from now on and forevermore your immortal soul. Okay, that's interesting. So if they can sneak that language into their TOS, what's out there by everyone else? Very interesting. Well, let's look at a common one you and I all have, LinkedIn. If you look at theirs, you grant a non-exclusive, irrevocable, worldwide, perpetual, unlimited, unassignable, sub-licensable, fully paid up and royalty-free rights to us to copy, prepare, derivative works of, improve, distribute, publish, remove, retain, add, process, analyze, use and commercialize in any way now known or in the future discovered any information you provide directly or indirectly to LinkedIn. How many of you guys read that statement? I'm deleting my LinkedIn. I don't know what the future will be, but of course it's non-exclusive or irrevocable, so I guess if I delete my account, they still own my soul anyway, or whatever I create. So if you're using your computer where LinkedIn's on there right now, you're giving away your papers. You're giving away your knowledge. You might be giving away your bank account, your Visa card. Well, gang, here's some security issues to think about a little deeper and ethical ideas. What is this gray area with third parties, these data brokers? How should we be looking at that? What are the legal ramifications of the TOSs and the third-party use? Should companies be able to use these and say, well, that was their policy? Or should they be liable, as the rest of the companies are, from their original policies out there? This is a gray area to where the laws are going to change, and who knows what's going to happen 10 years from now. As speed happens and time happens, we all think about the same things. What is next? What's the next new invention? What's the next new piece that's going to come out? How are we going to handle this? When I first started out in the field, there was a bunch of interesting theories, and they're still out there today. One of them was the idea of Moore's Law. And the rule was, technology and industry tells us that processors and chips, those small circuit boards that are the backbone of everything we do in computing, will double in speed every 18 months. 18 months. The rule of photonics, or the law of photonics, says that the fiber optic cables in the fastest forms we have will double every 9 months. Well, if these rules have been out there for so long, maybe there's a rule we need to think about too, about the rule of TOS, or the rule of development of applications and new security breaches. How fast will they change in the future? These are all things as researchers you're going to start thinking about and contemplating. Think a little deeper this week. Look at the apps on your phone and say, boy, maybe I should read that. Have a great week, gang. Appreciate your time.